All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Wi-Fi Now feature interview. My guest today is Bruce Collins. He's Senior Director of Product Management at Cambium Networks. Cambium Networks, of course, a very long time friend of this organization, and we like to follow all the great work that they do in the Wi-Fi industry and also in 60 gigahertz, which is an area that we haven't covered a lot recently. So we're going to do that today. So first of all, Bruce, thank you for coming on and good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Klaus. Thanks for having me. Great to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. And let's talk about 60 gigahertz networking infrastructure. And so, what, in your view, are the main market segments for that?
hmm So Cambium's been in the 60 gigahertz space with our CN-Wave product for several years now, and we continue to see that grow. I kind of look at it as two kind of parallel major markets. The first is service providers who are using 60 gig to deliver residential and business access for home internet or small business internet access. And that continues to grow. We have some very large service providers deploying density in high density networks, delivering up to gigabit per second service. So it really is a nice complement to fiber providers who want to add on wireless where they can't quite reach with fiber cost effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one category. The other category, though, is really an area that we see a lot of growth in, and that is private networks.
Mm-hmm.
And at a big picture, private networks are largely about using 60 gigahertz as three applications: backhauling Wi-Fi, so outdoor Wi-Fi, making sure that you have all the capacity that's needed to serve those outdoor Wi-Fi access points; CCTV, video surveillance backhaul, similarly; and then building to building connectivity for campuses. So as you want to, perhaps you have some fiber that has decayed over time and you need to quickly get several gigabits per second from one building to an outlying building, it's a
Mm-hmm.
great solution for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those markets really run the gamut of what you can think of as private networks, everything from hospitality, using this for resort communities and connecting up the remote areas. It can include all the way to the other end of the spectrum, industrial oil and gas facilities where they're putting these 60 gigahertz on well pads out in the middle of West Texas
Mm-hmm.
to serve those industrial applications. So lots of
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
use cases there.
So I guess some of the main benefits, first of all, is very quick deployment. Obviously, you don't have to dig; it's not a fiber, and presumably also some cost benefits in that case, right?
Absolutely. So if you're comparing it to fiber as an alternative,
Mm-hmm.
the you've got the savings from repairing the hardscape. Oftentimes, you're trying to put a Wi-Fi access point at the other side of a parking lot or the other side of a campus. To run fiber, you either have to trench, which causes you have to repair all that hardscape, or you have to run aerial fiber, which has aesthetic issues when you get into certainly areas where there's historical buildings or
Sure.
just the aesthetics of having aerial fiber and the risk around that.
Right.
So that's one area. And then the other, if you're comparing this to other wireless technologies, the real benefit of 60 gigahertz is that it doesn't interfere with Wi-Fi frequencies and it doesn't get interfered with by Wi-Fi frequencies. So it's really a nice isolated piece of spectrum.
Right.
It doesn't propagate real far, which is good and bad, because in the good is it doesn't propagate and cause self-interference and receive interference from neighboring networks. So you can kind of have these nice isolated pockets
Mm-hmm.
of propagation with 60 gigahertz. And if
Right.
you're deploying Wi-Fi, you don't have to worry about if I stick up one more Wi-Fi access point, is it going to break my backhaul network? If I stick up one more 60 gig, is it going to break my Wi-Fi network? You don't have to worry about that at all.
Right, exactly, and we could argue that using, the Wi-Fi frequencies themselves for backhaul obviously chews into the capacity, which in this case it wouldn't because you'd be using 60
Right.
gigahertz, right?
Exactly.
And also it's unlicensed, correct?
It is. So there's certainly no ongoing license costs or even initial license costs. It's unlicensed spectrum. You can put this up wherever you like.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of look at it as wireless fiber, and you can kind of stick it up wherever you need to pin up a couple gigabits per second of backhaul capacity.
Mm-hmm. All right, so maybe dive into some example use cases for us in a little bit more detail, Bruce, because I know you guys have been working on quite a broad selection of use cases together with your clients, right?
Right. I'll give you a couple of examples. The one of the areas that we really see a lot of growth in is in the logistics and warehousing industry. So some of the largest transportation and warehousing companies in the world are using 60 gig to provide uh, Wi-Fi access at the edge of their parking lot. So imagine a large
Mhm.
warehouse, and you've got that parking lot around there for all the employees to park. You've got staging areas for all of the trucks that are arriving and leaving. Sometimes you have a staging area from a rail line.
Mhm.
So they want to be able to have Wi-Fi access across all of those outlying areas. They want to have
Outdoors,
videos
essentially, right? Outdoor.
outdoors, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what they do is they put 60 gig on the roof at different points around the warehouse, and then
Mhm.
send that signal out to the edge of the campus or out to the edge of that warehouse environment, and provide Wi-Fi, camera access, and even things like some of the advanced applications are things like lidar-based scanners, so they can do self-driving vehicles and that kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
where the ability to um, more automate those yard operations around a warehouse. So
Mhm.
that's really a big growth area. And again, what they love about it is 60 gigahertz is doesn't cause interference. We've worked with a lot of these companies. They have obviously a lot of IT and security concerns, so we've worked
Sure.
closely with them to make sure that our 60 gig product integrates nicely and um, is able to be deployed quickly. Also, they have these warehouses spread all over the world, so being able to centrally manage those with CN Maestro, which is our network management system, is important so that they can basically pre-stage everything, send
Mhm.
it to the warehouse, and then they have a local contractor who is just hanging the radios, and they're already pre-provisioned and ready to go.
Mhm. And something like campus networks between buildings, I guess, another use case. I would imagine that's a good one.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
yeah, lots of obviously lots of big companies, or for that many universities, have tons of buildings that need to be connected, right?
Right, and it really complements with Cambium with our Wi-Fi solutions as well.
Mhm.
We are seeing a lot of interest from MSPs as they deploy Wi-Fi into either its MDU environments, hospitality environments, where there
Mhm.
maybe resort communities,
Mhm.
and being able to bring Wi-Fi to the main buildings, and then use 60 gig to serve. Maybe there's a boat dock area, or maybe there's an outdoor tennis courts or pool
Right.
area.
Mhm.
Being able to feed lots more capacity out to those remote areas without having to
Mhm.
run fiber, and that is
Mhm.
really nice in bringing this into some of the older communities
Mhm.
the older resort communities.
Mhm. And events and things like that. I heard something about that. Is that true?
Right. So one of the nice things about 60 gig, and again, you mentioned it's unlicensed, so you don't
Yeah.
have to do a lot of prep work before you go into a temporary location. So we have partners that have been using 60 gigahertz on PGA Tour events to
Ah, right.
provide backhaul for, again, cameras, but also point of sale terminals.
Uh-huh.
So they have these tents that are set up around the course to sell, food and beverages and T-shirts, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
being able to have that POS is important. And
Sure.
what they do is they pack this up, and instead of having big rolls of fiber and truckloads of gear, they can pack up a few of these
Sure.
radios and some Peli cases, and set up a very quick network
Yeah.
with 60 gig.
And fairly easy to align and all that. How do you guys do that? Is there an app or something like that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There are a couple of nice things about it. 60 gigahertz uses beamforming,
Yeah.
the CN wave solution. So you kind of have to get it within the azimuth of the radio, and then it will dial it in and optimize
Ah,
the
okay.
link.
All right.
So there is alignment tools built into the GUI, and we also have a smartphone app called the Cambium Alignment Tool, and that gives you a visual view of exactly where you are lined up
Uh-huh.
on the alignment.
Uh-huh.
We've another application that we've just introduced a new feature in the software release that just came out just this
Mhm.
last week. We do periodic beamforming, and what that means is every so often we'll go out and rescan and find, are we on the right beam for the 60 gigahertz link.
Mhm.
And one of the things we've introduced with this most recent release is we call it walking PBF. So it's walking periodic beamforming. And what that really comes into play is if you have a slow moving environment, like We've deployed 60 gig in some rail yard operations where you have these large cranes that are moving the storage containers,
Mhm.
and those cranes move up and down the track, but relatively slowly. But you
Mhm.
want to make sure that you maintain that optimal beam form.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that same feature comes into play if you have any kind of movement, unexpected, or any
Okay.
kind of movement, either due to wind or somebody moves a truck, and all of a sudden and
Right.
you've got it mounted on the back of a truck. You can do that alignment, and it'll optimize that over time. So,
Well, that's super cool. That's super
yeah,
useful.
yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Just one last question for you, Bruce. Just give us a very quick overview of the Cambium 60 gigahertz products. There's both point to point and point to multipoint, right?
Correct. So,
Mm.
kind of at a high level, you can think of this as a really just a nice set of tools or building blocks that you can build out
Uh-huh.
gigabit infrastructure. So what we have is point-to-point solutions. So like
Mhm.
it says, you can connect point A to point B. You can go out to a couple kilometers. You can go with we're the only company that has channel bonding. So
Okay.
you can bond two channels and get 5.4 gigabits per second. So that's 2.7 gig in each
Cool.
direction. So again,
Uh-huh.
for those campus environments, you can get 5.4 gig symmetrical service, 2.7 in each direction, from building to building. So that's our point-to-point solution. We also offer our distributed networking solution, which is a mesh tech topology. We call it distributing because what you're really doing is you can have our distribution node. In each distribution node, you can have up to 30 client nodes connected to it. So think
Mhm.
multi-point. But
Mhm.
then each of those distribution nodes can talk to other distribution nodes, and
Mhm.
therefore you can build out this mesh environment.
Ah, right.
And
Okay.
another unique capability that Cambium has is we have multiple POPs. So if you have a campus with multiple fiber points, you can inject fiber nodes into different of these distribution nodes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so now that gives you resiliency. So
Yeah.
you've got the resiliency of the mesh, but you also have resiliency of multiple
Cool.
POPs.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And that gives you both resiliency as well as additional capacity. Because every time you add another fiber POP, you're adding another 3-4 gigabits per second to that mesh.
Yeah. A huge amount of flexibility, basically, on how to set
Right.
up your architecture, right?
Yeah. So we
Not
really
change.
think it shines with really dense networks,
Okay.
and that's really where this can because of the beam forming, because of
Uh-huh.
the shorter propagation, because of the mesh capabilities,
Right.
you can deploy much more dense networks than you could with a traditional hub and spoke model
Uh-huh.
of 5 gigahertz or other solutions that are out there.
Yeah.
The other feature that we just added in the most recent release is automatic frequency planning and
Mhm.
automatic goalie code. I won't get into goalie codes unless you want me to, but for automatic frequency planning, what it does is you can basically point the CN Maestro, the management system, at a network and say, what is my optimal channel plan for this network? Which is
For the
great for
60
those
gig? For the 60
for
gig
60
radio?
gig for 60
Right.
gig radio.
Okay.
So it'll say, here's the channels that you should use across the network. Here's the goalie codes, which is really an interference mitigation
Mhm.
mechanism.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you can also run a automated interference scan against the network and say, you know what, you might be causing a little bit of interference here. You're getting some interference here. Here's an optimization that can be done with this automatic channel and goalie code
So
planning.
it's essentially a planning tool within the CN Maestro management system, right?
Correct. You access it via CN Maestro,
Mm.
and then it automatically pushes the config changes down to
Cool.
the radio. So you could override that, of course, but
Super. Yeah.
we're finding most customers like to just see it optimize itself.
Yeah. 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 No, super cool.
Yeah.
Lots of cool features. Bruce, thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about that. For the folks out there, go to cambiumnetworks.com, I guess, right, to learn more about
Uh,
60 gigahertz.
Absolutely. CambiumNetworks.com to learn about 60 gig and everything else we have.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Bruce, thank you so much. See you next
Really
time, all right?
appreciate it. Thanks,
All right.
Klaus.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.